Learn how Danny figured out how to move cross subscription and cross tenant for Azure SQL database using georeplicas this week on Data Exposed MVP Edition. Hi, I'm Anna Hoffman, and welcome back to Data Exposed MVP Edition. Today, I'm joined by Danny. Danny, thanks so much for coming on Data Exposed MVP Edition. Can you kick us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a data platform MVP. My title is a mission critical engineer. I actually work for a company in the Netherlands called Schuberg Phyllis, which we look after like highly critical customers who have mission critical platforms. And I'm also the leader of a user group called Azure Heroes. Hence here, my little logo.
Awesome. Cool. That's great. And mission critical engineer. That seems like a pretty important
It's a
job.
cool title.
That's a really cool title. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so today we're actually going to be talking about something that I know other folks have been talking about as well. And so I think it's great that we're going to kind of bring to light a solution that you've come up with to a problem that you've seen. So I'd love to understand like what was the scenario that led you and what is the solution that we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so we actually had a one of our critical customers, and they needed to actually move their databases, all their whole app platform, but databases. This is where this came into play, to a different tenant. And trying to find different variants of how you can do that with Azure SQL DB, there's quite a few limitations when you want to get the data out. And a backpack, which you normally would have to export the database, isn't the fastest solution when we're talking about 700 gigabytes. So everyone was saying, okay, this is going to take days of how we can move this kind of big, massive data. I was like, no, 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 don't worry. We have an idea. So we actually saw the like active geo replication, and we could synchronize the database to a different tenant using T-SQL, which was amazing. And we could do this with under an hour. And actually, then we had a constant asynchronous copy to a different tenant. So then we actually added to this, and now we can do it inside the tenant and made an extra abstraction layer, which I'm looking forward to showing you guys. And it can show you how easily you can now do this yourselves.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I actually had no idea that there was any sort of workaround for this. So that's awesome to hear, and I'd love to dive right in and take a look and understand how it works.
Yeah, for sure. So I can show you on my screen. What I have now, and this is actually in a GitHub repo, which I'll share the link with you guys. I actually pushed this today. But what it is, because I wanted to have this a big, a nice event for me. Woohoo. But we have Azure SQL migration script. It's quite large, but it will go through the different parameters. So I actually made them optional as well. But what this uses is PowerShell and Azure CLI. So you have all the different parameters down, and it gives some examples of what you can do and how to actually enter this. But this will allow you, this will not do the cross tenant, but it will keep it cross subscription. So if you need a different subscription elsewhere, or you're actually doing some Azure SQL database migrations, you can do this. And there's certain parameters which you can choose, which are like elastic pool, because sometimes you have that actually there also, or you may need the permission. So a current use case we have is if they need their production data to lower environments, always a bit of a controversial topic, but if this needs to be done, at least you can make sure if you move production permissions down, they may have more permissions in development. So you want to make sure you get the same permissions as what they currently have if you're overwriting a database. So I put that option in there. But the whole code will go through and you can actually then copy across. I'm not going to go through into detail of all the code here because it's quite a lot. But what what I'll actually do, I can actually run this here. So if I close that, what I will have is a run sync. So I actually prepared one earlier, and if we run this, what it would do, it'll show you it's actually kicked off a migration. So this will actually get the permissions now from this Crude SQL. I name it after myself. It makes it easier for me to clean up because then I know what is mine. And there's Crude database. So it's got the permissions out of the one I've told it to. I've actually put an extra parameter in there so you can choose which database you want to abstract or remove the permissions from. It probably is failing now. Maybe the database went in paused, but we can run it again anyway. I have a separate one where I ran earlier. So this is going to go through. And if I show you one, which I did do earlier because I was running it, you'll see it actually captures the permissions here, and then it starts creating the GeoSQL replica on a target server. To make this a bit more easier to view, what I can show you is in the Azure portal. So we have two separate subscriptions. We have this one here, Data Exposed is the resource group, and this one's called Labs Robot. But there's the Crude database. So that's the SQL database we have down here. Then we have another one, a different resource group, a different subscription. Also, I think it's even in a different region, Sweden Central versus West Europe. And now what I'm able to do, you can see there's already one down here, Crude database copy. That will literally do a seeding across. So it does an asynchronous copy to there. And then what I do is actually cut the cord. So then basically it will stop the replication, and then you can do whatever you want to that database. So you can rename it, access it, write to it. So then you can use it. It works very well for that setup. And to show you what I'm playing with is if I go to SQL Server Management Studio, this is how it looks in here. Yeah, ignore the text on the right for now. That's where you need to focus is here, because it's just a Stack Overflow database. So I'm moving a 10 gig database, which I like to play around with. And this will synchronize it across. So currently there was no database there. If I refresh, you should see the copy actually will be showing there. And there's a Crude DB also. So there's the copy is one from earlier. When you do these kind of replicas across, it uses the same setup or SKU name of what is actually Crude DB. That will then be copied across. If you don't want the same name is where I added a mechanism to say like underscore old, underscore new, underscore copy, whatever your naming convention would be. Then you can do it in that way. Why I have the text on the right of all this is how I started. So I've made the abstraction layer now in the PowerShell, but this is how you would do the cross-tenant variant. You'd have to create a actual SQL login, and then you give it the certain permissions here. You'd have it's called DB Manager, and that way it can have permissions to actually do it on the other side. You have to rip out the SID, and then you need that on the actual secondary as well, or your to be secondary. So the SQL login has to be exactly the same in both ones, password, etc., so it can actually connect in. And then you'd have this certain user which you use. You create that on both instances. So say if you were doing here and here, you have to create those. In the variant I've got, because I can use Azure CLI and PowerShell, you don't have to do any of this. So it makes it a lot more simple. You're only able to do this method if you're doing cross-tenant. And then I added a few extra scripts in there where you can actually see the status of the copy and also the replication state to give more input. And then you would actually be able to fail over back and forth if necessary. And there are some of the scripts which you would have in the Alton database. You see, I did this one at Parse Summit before, so hence why my
Nice.
demo is still showing a SQL script there. And then I also have code which you have on the failover of back and forth. All this is also on my GitHub, so you can even try and replicate what I've been doing, which is really nice.
Okay, Danny, I have potentially a dumb question, and I'm not a
Please.
replication expert. I don't pretend to be. But my understanding is like when you create a geo replica from Azure SQL database, it has to, well, actually, does it have to be in a different region or can it be in the same region? I'm not sure. Anyways, you have to create it either same region, different region, whatever, but it has to have the same name and it has to be in the same. Does it have to be in the same server? 'Cause I'm just trying to understand, like, how did you kind of work around some of the, like, I guess, defaults of how georeplicas work? And what were some of those workarounds that you did?
It's a very good question. So when it came to having this setup where we use the actual cross-tenant variant, I was very amazed of how easy it was to set up because we had to basically have two separate instances on two separate Azure tenants, and we connected them all through just T-SQL. What you have to know is that can only come from like a local IP, so one IP address. So say mine IP address connects to both. And what is even more amazing is for that initial connection, Then you need public access or connection from that IP, let's say. Then, once the initiation is made between the two SQL instances, you can stop all public connection, which is amazing. So you can actually just have this all running over the Microsoft backbone. And that was one of the most amazing things I saw. So then it's fully not public, it's a lot more secure. And then we could also fail over back and forth. When you're doing it inside your own tenant, you have a bit more leeway in what you can and can't do. But that's where failover groups versus GeoSQL replicas are a bit different. One thing I know is when you're actually moving to different a different subscription, it does have to be in a different region, and then you can actually have this setup. So and there's a few differences you really have to check between the failover group and the GeoSQL replica, just to be sure. Those gotchas will make sure you read up on those.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. Danny, I learned a lot. I'm pretty amazed, and it's wonderful that this is all out on GitHub. So if folks need this, they can hopefully find it and take advantage of the solution that you've come up with. Any final tips or tricks for folks who are considering doing something like this or need to do something like this and stumbled across this video?
um, It's it's a very fun one to answer because it's a lot about trial and error. We did not just fall onto this. We tried Data Factory. You could copy tables across, trying to see that. We even tried the data migration service, but that's like an abstraction of Data Factory. So then you're copying tables. We still could not get that much power to move this across. So I'm using a replica where you can say, okay, I want to make a replica of the database. There is also a copy option. One thing I didn't mention, but if you look in the portal, I can actually show now. Why don't I do that? That makes more sense. What you have, if you have the database, I can go into this one, for example, and what you would have in the actual portal, you have this copy button. But what you can also do in the Azure CLI, it's under the create database option. You can copy and you can do certain aspects of what I've done. I've gone the next level because then I have an asynchronous copy always there, and I can cut the code when I like. And I did it that way. There's many ways to do things, but that's the most part of what I'm actually saying is there's so many ways to do things. This might not be the best way for everyone. For me, it worked really well. And then I had so much power in how fast I could move the data. But everyone's circumstances are different. So it's always good to try to see what fits you.
Amazing. Cool. Well, again, Danny, thanks so much for coming on the show. I learned a lot. I'm sure viewers did as well. Viewers, if you like this episode, we'll put links in the description for all of Danny's solutions. So you go check them out and use them yourself. If you like this episode, go ahead, give it a like, leave us a comment, and let us know what you think or if you tried it out. And we hope to see you next time on Data Exposed MVP Edition.